talking about being different also starts from a philosophy saying, if I have not gone through this adventure, I will never know. And one of the most audacious decisions I have ever made across my entire life is
Meet Fatima, motorcycle adventurer, stereotype shatterer, and living proof that courage can rewrite your story. She's not just different, she's unstoppable. Oh, and you might realise that Lorna is not on today's episode. Today was the day that she decided to try the metro for the first time. And let's just say, it didn't work out. But it's okay, Lorna, we've all been there. Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Fast Brain Women. We are here today with the lovely Fatima. I am absolutely honoured that you joined us today because, like you mentioned, this was a very random LinkedIn post where you were telling us about your year wrapped up last year and about your journey with discovering ADHD, which Lorna picked up. So I think sometimes the universe does bring people together, but I want to get to know you because we've never met each other before, apart from this lovely conversation that we've just had outside. Can you tell me a little bit about how you found out you had ADHD?
Sure, but before that, may I compliment you for having the courage to start such a podcast. So just wanted to say thank you, and I'm supporting this initiative, and I'm very, very privileged to be part of it. Oh. So to start about the ADHD, I found out that I have ADHD only at 45. And the whole story started with me struggling with my 13-year-old. And since she was born, I've realized that she's a bit different. She's troubled. She's such a lovely girl. She's cute. She has a lot of beautiful attributes. She's very charming. However, slowly, when she grew older, she started showing symptoms. And these symptoms created a lot of friction between myself and her older sister. If I hadn't had an older daughter as well, that I would have not noticed that there is something wrong with my little one. So with years of trying to convince her father to help me to take her to a psychologist to just figure out what's wrong with her, because she's for me, she was not a normal child, but still she reminded me a lot of myself when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So I knew there was something in the genes, but I really felt helpless and I wanted to help her. And with that emotional friction or going up and down, I really wanted to get her checked. And after so many attempts of convincing her father about taking her to the doctor, I got a tip from a colleague of mine at work. And she really recommended me to go and see a specialist. Mm-hmm. I took Savannah to the specialist and we'd run a few tests. It took a few days and a few people to sit with her. And the diagnosis came as in she has a combination with attention deficit and hyperactive disorder. They can be a one of each or a combination. And it was very new to me. And when I started really learning about it through the assessment center and so we sat with her dad, with the doctor at the end to learn more about our daughter's condition. Our daughter was in the room sometimes, and sometimes she was asked to leave, and we had a mature conversation with the doctor. And she suggested that we should start a treatment. Parallelly, we should also have her checked with a specialized child psychiatric, to help her to restructure her thoughts and to be more organized. While Savannah was in Denmark with her father, the same doctor really asked me to check myself too.
Okay.
And I asked her, where does ADHD come from, actually? And I told her I reflect a lot of myself and my childhood. I was like her. And then apparently it could be genetic or it could be anything else. And I went through the test myself because under her suggestion. And then she said, actually, you are an ADHD with the combination of both. And that was the reality that hit me, where I found out at 45. I now understand my condition. And everything I went through, my life just made sense.
And how did it feel? Like, what was some of the, like, your initial response to kind of finding out that information?
It was an aha moment. And I said, oh my God, if I was told about my condition and I learned better about it, not only me, but only my poor mom, I put her through struggle, my dad, my siblings, I could not connect to this world. I felt alone. I was always misunderstood. I forgot things innocently, and I was beaten for it. So there were multiple things that made sense at the end. And I said, like, oh my God, like, I found me.
Yeah.
You understand? When I say I found me, I found myself. However, the struggle with I found me helped me understanding my daughter better, but I cannot tell you that I am proudly successful in dealing with my younger daughter and her ADHD. And I must admit, it's extremely difficult to be one dealing with another one.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, loud proud. You asked me actually where the name Fast Brain Women came from, and that's how my son was, I think, 7 when he was diagnosed, and he couldn't really understand this ADHD term and, you know, the bigger words in between it. So we say that he has a fast brain, and that's how we've explained it to him. And if we don't call it a fast brain, we call it BBBB, which stands for Bugatti Brain Bicycle Brakes. He loves fast cars. And just helping to understand, like, his brain is going to go 150, 200 kilometers an hour, but if he wants to stop it, it's not going to work. So I think sometimes when you are a mother that's also has a fast brain and trying to keep in control, keep on top of, keep nurturing, keep disciplining, like all of that stuff of mothering a child that also has a fast brain, it's not for the faint-hearted.
No.
You have, honestly, all my grace, because it can be quite tricky. I find you mentioned about that, trying to get your husband to understand. What was it that brought him on board?
I really honestly think he gave up because I kept nagging and nagging and nagging. We're not together now, but I booked an appointment. I told him about the appointment, and he showed up. So that was really great to see that he was there, maybe under pressure.
Okay, well, that's fine. Whatever works at this point. I think it's like just literally chipping away, because, you know, awareness kind of happens in different ways and everyone learns very differently, I suppose. So however works to get people on board. I know that is something that a lot of mothers struggle with, individuals that kind of have partners, or it could be family, you know, getting the grandparents on board. My husband's family, so his parents are all from a medical background. So you would kind of think it's in some points that they would truly understand this condition, diagnosed, it's in medical journals. However, sometimes even from them, we experience this kind of doubt, you know, but he's just a boy, he's just strong-willed, you know, all children are like this, you were like this. But they don't see the behind the scenes, those
do not, and
terrible times, the meltdowns, the cries for help,
the anxiety. But I think it's fair to state, since I made this statement about Savannah's dad, is that in his defense, I think he struggles with accepting the idea that there is something wrong with his daughter. Yeah. So long time ago, nobody heard about any condition called ADHD or ADD. And the children or people just grew out of it for a reason or another. We all condition ourselves. And if you will give me the space to express it and explain it, when I reflect back on my condition, I struggled a lot. So I tried as much as I could to structure myself, to feel safer, and try as much as I could to mature in my condition of, like, for example, being overexcited, over-speaking, because you're full of anxiety at that time. And I think one of the things that really helped me to be grounded is my prayers. You know, as Muslims, we pray 5 times, and I started gladly praying since I was 7. I'm not 100% in control of my emotions. I was also told that I was bipolar, because at some moments I will be overexcited, and some moment I will just hit the ground being depressed and sad. What's worth really mentioning is in 2008, when I got my first daughter, I was diagnosed with depression or postnatal depression. And I started getting medication for 8 years afterwards. And when I started speaking with the psychologist or the psychiatrist that I was seeing, she asked me, did you take any other medication? I said, yes, I was taking a depression medication for nearly 8 years. And she said, how did you feel about it? I said, horrible. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped that medication 8 years ago. And then she said, actually, the depression pills, they do not work with ADHD.
No.
And this is one of the reasons why for 8 years I was really severely depressed, struggling through life. And I reached a point where I really wanted to end it. I wanted to end it for myself. And that's one of the core reasons why I stopped my depression medication. But I'm very glad 8 years after I realized actually it was not depression, and it's an ADHD that could be treated and sorted.
Yeah, I think a lot of women that have been on the podcast, that will come on the podcast, will talk about this misdiagnosis of depression. Again, I can completely relate, because there is a time, especially when you have lived with an ADHD brain in a neurotypical world, gathering all this negative self-talk. I'm messy. I talk too much.
Yes.
I'm not enough. It is depressing. It's sadness, but it's not depression. You know, those two things, you can be sad and depressed, but not suffering with a clinical depression. And I think it's very difficult, especially in those moments, to really articulate. And you're not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, to really help somebody understand, like, I'm just exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. I can't put my finger on it.
I must really admit that there is a key word that you just mentioned right now, and it tells the whole story for me, is when I feel like I'm not good enough. And you try as much as you could to prove to everybody around you that you are worth it. And therefore, if you would ask about my extreme action when it comes to say that I'm worth it, 2 weeks ago, I took I drove a motorcycle from Dubai all the way to Iraq, Erbil, alone. Although everybody else told me not to do it, but it was a journey for self-discovery. I really wanted to find myself. And I insisted to drive solo and not to have anybody with me, because you spend tremendous amount of time between yourself and yourself on the motorcycle or on the go. So it's 2,500 kilometers. It took me 8 days. Wow. And with that, I met a lot of, coincidentally, with bikers and some clubs, and I was invited. But I must really tell you how stressful it was for me to sit with a social setup of amazing bikers. But I really couldn't wait until I get back on the bike and spin off alone.
You can have that moment. How did that even come into existence? Where did you get this idea from?
You see a lot of, nowadays you see a lot of women wandering around, traveling on cycles, on foot. And there are a few who are highly rated and looked after women, European women mainly, traveling around the world, YouTubers. And they show the world their adventure and where they really go. And maybe somehow deep inside, I really refuse the idea that this region is unsafe for women. And I also refuse the idea that when I travel around the world and I talk to people, they always speak negatively about the UAE and the women here, anticipating that we're covered, we have no choice, and we are forced into marriages, and we are. And I thought maybe inside I really wanted to test it and see how safe this is for women like myself traveling. But I must admit that traveling alone and being a woman maybe was not a great, or they did not welcome the idea. It was surprising for a lot of Arab men, especially at the borders. But I must tell you, none of them made the slightest annoying comment about it. And especially when I entered Iraq, I believe what served me the best is not only being a woman, but also wearing the flag of the UAE. So when I enter, in Iraq is not, it's highly secured. They have militia, they have ISIS, and they have a lot of checkpoints. So every 50 kilometers, you have a checkpoint with Kalashnikov and guys standing. And the minute I try to cross, my plate number is Dubai, of course. But the minute I try to cross, they think I'm a boy. So they start shouting as in like, stop, take it off, move here, go there. And the minute they say, remove the helmet, like all shouting. And the minute I remove the helmet, they see the Sheila and they see a girl face and they say, oh, you're a girl. And I say, yes. And they say, oh, where are you from? Like, when Ahlaj? And I point to the passport and I say, UAE. Yeah. And then I go down, and after all this stress and anxiety, I get back on the bike, and then the same guy with the Kalashnikov says, do you need anything? Is there anything I can help you with? Safe travel. but imagine the welcome and imagine the goodbye. And what really made it all is maybe not only being a woman traveling alone, but also the strong reputation of the United Arab Emirates across the region.
Yeah, very much so. That is just, it's blowing my mind. And I always just find it so fascinating that most women with ADHD have some kind of dream, aspiration, like, you know, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. I don't need a rule book. I'm just going to, and you did that. That is absolutely incredible and extremely inspiring. I'm already in my 360 thinking like, what could I do? What could I
You could do this. This is audacious.
Audacious. That is such a good word. There was, you know, I think as a parent, and again, when I speak to my son about, you know, you can be anything you want to be. You can do anything. Just be audacious, be outrageous, be everything and authentic. And sometimes that can be quite difficult, right? To have the courage. You talked about courage at the beginning. Where did you get your courage from?
If I look back, maybe somebody else can help me understand what happened with me, actually. But when I looked back, I've realized growing up in a small town like Kalba, which is nearly 30,000 people live there, if not less, and among 19 siblings. So, yes, my father, we grew up in one house. There were multiple wives, and there were many children. We didn't have to go out off the fence to play with anyone. We could play football inside our own house. It was very difficult for me to be noticed. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was troublemaker, to be noticed. And seeking attention did not make it really easy for me. So I think that's one of the reasons why I was very competitive. There were plenty of boys, plenty of girls in the house, and I wanted to be different. So I think it started from there, is how can I differentiate myself among my siblings? And how can I be superstar and so special?
We're going to take just a quick ADHD-friendly pause. And if you're listening to this while multitasking, then this is most definitely for you. So listen up. The Endel app is honestly my secret weapon to getting things done. It's a sound wellness app that creates these personalized soundscapes designed to help your brain do what it's meant to be doing in that moment. I use it every single day, and whether I'm locking in, focusing, or just wanting to fall asleep at a human hour, it's Endel that gets me there. These guys are such big supporters of the ADHD community, and they're giving you a whole month to try it for free. So you can find the link in the description, or send us a DM wherever on our socials if you can't find it, and we will send it to you. And if you got distracted along the way, even during this little short break, we have gifted you a lovely 5-minute relaxing soundscape from Endel at the end of this episode. So stick around and enjoy. How have you come to terms with that difference? Because I think a lot of the time, and this goes back, you know, through our ancestors, right? Sometimes being different is not a good thing. You know, in your tribe, if you're the different one, if you're the naughty one, if you're the unsafe one, you know, you can be punished, you can be, you know, ostracized for this. How did you kind of get to a point where you were okay with being different? Are you okay with being different?
It took many years to accept the fact that I'm being different. It also took many years for my family and my friends, for my children, to acknowledge that I was different. Talking about all the crazy adventures that I've done, my kids were there to support me, actually, beyond anybody else. And I was quite impressed how my girls told me, "Mommy, just do it. You know, just do it. If this is what you really want, just do it." Where the entire world said no to me. But talking about being different also starts from a philosophy saying, if I have not gone through this adventure, I will never know. And one of the most audacious decisions I have ever made across my entire life is to choose my husband at that time. Because I used to work 3 hours away from home for the first time, living alone in Abu Dhabi after my graduation. I met this amazing 2 meters tall, white Viking, blonde, blue eyes. And although I knew I cannot dream of being married to such a thing, you know, because we are a bit traditional. What really struck me is with him that he portrayed that I am a self-standing person. I make my own decisions. And I don't need anybody's permission to go out or do anything. And I believe Scandinavian culture bring a lot of that in, how Scandinavian women are powerful, in terms of equal rights and decision. So I think I fell in love with the Danish culture or Scandinavian culture more than anything else. So it was a long, convincing story with 4 years struggling with the yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And I made the decision of marrying him, moving with him to Norway and Denmark, and living there. And we got our first daughter there. So when I made that decision, although of multiple trial of convincing my family, I was left alone. And it took a toll on me for 2 years. And imagine being pregnant, giving birth in a cold country. I don't understand the language and I don't know the people. So it was really, really a struggle for a year and a half. But I was really blessed to be married to someone like him at that time, because he showed me the world. And I keep telling everybody that I met, although we're not together today, and although he could not understand the ADHD and everything I went through and could not maybe support me because he did not really know what was wrong with me. But still, he was. I give a lot of credit to my ex-husband of what I have became today, and the courage and the world of possibilities I built for myself, because he really was the first one who told me, you can do anything you want and you can be anything you want to be.
It's like a 2-meter distraction. You're like, oh, what's this over here? I'm going to go and see how that works. So you talked about being, in Scandinavia alone, and you did this trip alone. Are you okay alone? Like, do you find, is that something that's therapeutic for you?
Oh, wow. I said, I come from a big family with a lot of social setup. But I must say, recently, or in the past few years, I really started enjoying my solitude. Mm-hmm. And reflecting back, I think there were a lot of noise. Since the day I was born, there were noise. And it's only throughout the pandemic you come to understand how does it feel listening to yourself without noise. And slowly, I started integrating this solitude.
Yeah. What did that entail? Because I know that, I think only from my past experience, and actually now on a tangent, I understand when I was telling you about my family setup. So I'm an only child. My parents are both only children. I have no siblings. My parents have no siblings. There's no aunties. There's no cousins. There's nobody. But I think when growing up, I did have moments of feeling alone. So I definitely, maybe I don't like being alone, but I also find it quite overwhelming with such a busy, fast brain to be alone. I went to Dharamshala, to the very north of India for 10 days on a silent retreat to discover this whole meditation, and it was hell. It was the most amazing experience and game-changing for my life. But in that present moment, would not recommend. 1 star. It was just, I felt like I was being tortured. I couldn't talk. I was sat in a cold floor. We were meditating the whole time. I'm like, is this going to end? Is this going to end? Can I go home now? Can I go home?
It's the journey, I think. I felt exactly the same when I took the trip to Iraq. And there were some moments on the bike where it was too cold, too windy. And I would tell myself, why do I do this to myself? Maybe it's time to get back. Maybe they are right. And you have a lot of voices behind you, but it's actually the journey. Because now, enduring all that and coming back, I look back and I say it's absolutely the journey that you put yourself through. If you would ask me today if I'll take Dubai to Erbil again, 8 days, 2,500, maybe not.
Done it once.
But I have done it once, and I can tell you I felt different. Yeah. I felt I am different and more powerful.
Good.
Yes, I've challenged myself.
Yeah. And that is maybe why we do it. Again, it's like a phrase. Now, why do I do this to myself? But actually, the answer is for the journey, for the experience, for the power to kind of unlock these things. And sometimes it doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah.
Just got to roll with it.
But the biggest question ever is, if you have not gone there, how would you ever know how does it feel?
Yeah.
And that's what kept me okay being different and taking all these radical decisions, provided, of course, that I don't hurt anyone.
Yeah. Keep safe.
As much as we can.
I do find a lot of women, I feel quite sad for them, like sympathy. I don't know. I just that have accumulated all this fear through their life. So again, through their family being different, again, that the kind of negative self-talk, why am I this? Why am I that? That they unfortunately become trapped within that, and having the ADHD brain on top and almost like keeping a lid on it. What was it for you, or, why were you able to take the lid off and go and explore and, just have these crazy thoughts and allow them to happen? I think it's the allowing it to kind of flow.
I don't know what's the answer for that question, but I must tell you that I was different since I was a child, and I always wanted to do things differently. And I think that attention deficit part played in for my favor. It was not an easy life. I was not accepted all the time. I was not favored all the time. I was criticized badly from so many different directions, including the way I cut my hair. As I told you that I shave half of my hair and I leave the rest. And now I color it a little bit differently. I stand different and I speak different. So I honestly think women have to have the motivation and calculated risk when they make decisions. It's very important to have alliance and partners. It's also very important to consult. Yeah. Having said that, you have to stand your ground of what you really want for yourself. I really honestly think one of the things that really limits people, apart being women or not, is for you to wait for someone to open the door, for you to wait for someone to support you, for you to wait for someone to permit you. If you wait, you will wait forever. Yeah. Why do you put your dream in someone else's hand? You just want it, study it, consult, make a decision, and just go. Just do it. And I think this is one of the drives that really made me do what I did today. But also, it comes with consequences. Mm-hmm. I cannot sit in a corner and cry because I did something radical and people didn't like it. I have to bear the consequences and be responsible enough for my decisions. Having said that, one of the biggest things ever I think everybody should really take over is start with being tolerant within. So the more you tolerate people, the more you understand people, you teach them to learn that culture about you. So they start learning that they have to also tolerate who you are and what you are. One time I was invited to a cafe with my sisters. I have 4 closer sisters to me, and we met in Dubai. And I wanted to show off, and I just got my driving license, and I came with my Harley Davidson at that time. And when I parked the motorcycle, everybody was looking in that open space, and I got down and I went all the way to sit with them, to have the coffee. And I remember what one of my sisters said, "Why you are so different? Why you choose such a difficult life? Like we grew up from the same house. Why you are so different?" Because that motorcycle culture that suddenly came surprisingly to them. And she innocently spoke her mind, like anybody else. Yeah,
that happens. I think a lot of people do. That's where they default to. I find with my son, even sometimes, like, what's wrong with you? Oh, rewind, like trying to eat my words. Like there are just some things that you kind of express and get away with. And maybe those are the tolerance that you talked about. I find in my advocacy, and I'm sure in yours too, because you're vocal about your difference and what this stands, that it's kind of part of our job and our role to help people be curious and help people to understand this difference and what it means, because it's not a bad thing. What has it allowed us to be able to do and achieve? Greatness. It's limitless as far as I'm concerned. The only limit is what we put on ourselves.
Is yourself. I'm very glad to say that today my children are taught how to tolerate culture, religion, even sexual orientation. We don't have to necessarily accept everything imposed by the world, but we have to learn to be human and to be accepting and tolerate for the world to tolerate who we are. And that's the way I try as much as I could to change the world, is through bringing my daughters to a world more tolerant and more accepting and more courageous.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the job you're doing, the future generations. I believe women like us were kind of put on this planet to kind of break some of those curses the generations sort of passed down. And I think it's very evident that through so many women now being diagnosed with ADHD, that this is a difference. It's not a disorder. It's just a different brain having a different experience.
It's a condition. Some people get mistakenly saying you're sick or you're mentally, like my daughter comes sometimes and she says, I am an ADHD. So she thinks she should get away with everything. And she uses ADHD as in the reason behind all the mistakes that if she could really do. But it's not an excuse, actually. It's not a mental disease. It's a condition, and it could be like science now said it could be treated medically and with the help, of course, with the specialized people. But I could really admit that maybe I'm not very successful today. I sit very confident in front of you, telling you I did and I chose, but I must really also tell you that I still struggle in a journey of finding myself and a journey of trying to be a good mom and a good citizen and a good human in this world. And it will never be an ending journey, and I will continue making mistakes and radical decisions until the day I die. I cannot promise that I found my way, because I'm still trying to find myself.
Yeah, that's really poetic. I absolutely love that. And I think there's something in that, in accepting the good and the bad, leaving the perfectionism at the door. But we get to define what our success looks like. For me, and kind of meeting you for the first time, I just love how authentic you are, like from the minute we met and throughout all of this conversation. And whether that is because of your difference, your brain difference, or just your experience on this planet, I think that is just, if we could all be more tolerant and authentic, what a world we would live in.
I agree, but we have to be very careful and cautious about the boundaries we need to keep. Mm-hmm. There are boundaries we can push, and there are boundaries we need to keep.
Yeah.
And the reason being is, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but when I traveled from Dubai all the way to Iraq, I kept the shela because I was wearing the flag. So I was presenting the Emirati women in my trip. Nobody paid me to do this trip, and was not on a mission to present anyone. It was just for myself. But that sense of responsibility of showing the GCC and outside the GCC, how does Emirati women, powerful one, look like? And this is when I say it's nice to push boundaries, but there are boundaries we need to respect.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that women and have ADHD go crazy and do whatever you want. You have responsibilities towards your country, your culture, and your family.
Yeah. Yeah. It just fascinates me, the potential that lies within all of us, all human beings, right? But I don't know, maybe I'm just very passionate about the ones with fast brains. Just a little bit more potential. We always ask our guests, like, what is the one thing, you talked about kind of still struggling, but what is the one thing that keeps you moving forward? Is it a hack or a strategy, or is it a mindset? What is that one thing that keeps you going?
Oh, that's a very big question. Some people say you have to stand as a good example for your daughters. You should do things for your, someone. And I keep saying I do it for me. Mm-hmm. Because when I do it for me and I know me and I understand me, I can do many things for everybody around me.
I love that. I think that's great. We've come to the end of our time today. I literally could sit here and chat to you for hours. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
It means a lot. I just have the best job on the planet that I get to sit and talk about my favourite topic and meet some of my new favourite people. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
The pleasure was mine, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll be back with another episode next week. So please stay tuned, and we will introduce our next guest in the comments below. And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Before you dive back into the chaos, we've got a 5-minute relaxing end-all soundscape to help you reset, unwind, or just stare into space guilt-free. If you loved this episode, it would mean the absolute world to us, and also ease our rejection sensitivity if you hit subscribe, share it with a fast-brain friend, or if you loved it, leave us a quick review. take a breath, stay wild, and enjoy until the next episode of Fast Brain Women.